Yes, she is back. Reese Witherspoon just announced with Prime Video the new show called Elle. This series will take us on a journey back to Elle Wood's high school days before she became the most famous Gemini vegetarian to graduate from Harvard Law. We can't wait to get to know her better.
Did you know Blake Lively was almost an illegally blonde prequel? Yes, that Blake Lively, fashion icon, internet darling, and self-proclaimed script whisperer, was reportedly in early talks to join the third installment of the iconic franchise. Not just as any character, but as Elle Wood's new antagonist, a sleek, stylish rival who would challenge Elle before becoming the person we all love. On paper, it made sense. A fashionable face-off between two industry blondes, Hollywood gold. But behind the scenes, the energy was less bend and snap and more bend and backstab. According to multiple insiders, things started spiraling before any ink even touched a contract. Blake hadn't signed anything yet. Nothing was confirmed. Nothing was sealed, but she was already sliding into the writers' inboxes. Early in the development phase, she allegedly began suggesting character adjustments. Bigger, bolder scenes for her role, expanded arcs, and even narrative shifts that placed her character in direct emotional and thematic focus asterisk. Subtle hints turned into assertive pitches. What was meant to be a secondary character slowly started resembling a co-lead, or worse, the lead.
Okay, I believe in this, and that's why I'm standing up for it, and that's why I'm not being difficult. And then there are other moments to go like, am I the asshole in the room? Like, what is happening here? I would show up on a set. I knew that they just wanted me to show up and look cute and stand on a little pink sticker where I'm supposed to go and say what I'm supposed to say. But I also knew that like that wasn't fulfilling for me, that I wanted to be a part of the storytelling, that I wanted to be a part of the narrative, whether that be in the writing, in the costume design, in creating the character. And sometimes I had directors or producers or writers who would welcome that and invite that once they saw that I was able to offer that. And sometimes I would have people who really resented that because they were like, we just hired you to be an actor. Yet when I went in the meetings, I would just seem like I'm just there to be the actor and ready to get the gig. I wouldn't reveal that I actually need to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled. So I think that for them, sometimes that might have felt like a rug pull because you're like, you're trying to assert yourself into something that we didn't hire you to do. And so it was a really strange position to be in because I felt like, I don't want to just like be an actor. Like I want to have more authorship.
Writers and producers were reportedly taken aback. Blake, known for her confidence and charm, had morphed into a creative force who wasn't waiting for approval. During one brainstorming session, she allegedly came in with her own printed script pages, complete with highlighted notes. She pushed to reframe her character from a villainous foil to a misunderstood disruptor. According to one source close to the project, she wanted to be the Miranda Priestly with a redemption arc. It might sound exciting, but for a franchise built on the Wood's unapologetic optimism and sparkle, the tone shift was jarring. Sneak
peek of Mindy Kaling's script. I know it is under lock and key, super secretive, but give us something to go off of.
We don't have a script yet.
It's just funny. Crazy to revisit and play that character again.
I know.
How is she different today?
I don't know. And so many things have changed, but then some things are just so.
Suddenly, what had started as a cheeky comedy was on the verge of becoming a brooding showdown between morally gray women. That's not what fans were promised, and certainly not what Reese Witherspoon had in mind. Ree, of course, was trying to keep it diplomatic. She's not just Elle Woods anymore. She's Elle Woods with a producer credit and final say on story. People close to the situation say Ree initially entertained Blake's ideas out of courtesy. She listened, nodded, and tried to make room for collaboration. But it didn't take long before she realized Blake wasn't making suggestions. She was attempting to steer the ship. There was a difference between a passionate actor and an uninvited co-director, and that difference was starting to cause friction in the writer room. And if any of this sounds familiar, it's because it is. Blake had just walked away from another controversial project. It Ends With Us. That film had already been rocked by delays, rewrites, and a growing list of on-set frustrations, many of which, according to reports, could be traced back to Blake's increasing involvement in the creative process. Sources claim she clashed with the director, questioned casting decisions, and even pushed for stylistic changes that clashed with the author's original vision. The result? Delays, discontent, and ultimately, a final product few were confident in. Now, those same habits seem to be resurfacing. Ray's ever the professional tried to manage things privately, but those behind the scenes say she could sense what was coming. The red flags were waving too loudly to ignore. And for a project as beloved as Legally Blonde, she wasn't willing to gamble on chaos. She knew what fans expected. Elle Wood's pink power suits, snappy courtroom comebacks, and a story that celebrated confidence without turning it into competition. Blake's suggestions weren't just disruptive. They were reshaping the soul of the movie. It wasn't Legally Blonde 3 anymore. It was starting to feel like Legally Blonde, the Blake Lively rewrite. And just like that, the energy shifted. Meetings became less frequent. Emails went unanswered. Phone calls turned vague. Ree and the team reportedly made the quiet decision to step back from Blake. Nothing was publicly announced. No dramatic press release, no scandalous headline, but the doors slowly closed quietly, firmly, and permanently. What was once a glitzy headline pairing became just another Hollywood almost Reese Witherspoon stayed at the helm, protecting the legacy of Elle Woods with the same determination she used to defend her in court. And Blake, well, she moved on, but not without leaving another paper trail of creative tension behind her. This wasn't just a case of a role lost. It was a warning sign. One more entry in a growing pattern of projects. Blake Lively nearly changed forever. The question now isn't why she was removed from Legally Blonde 3. It's how many more pink carpets she'd be quietly asked to step away from next. Blake Lively's departure from Legally Blonde 3 was never announced. It didn't need to be. The shift in energy said it all. After weeks of creative tension, whispered complaints, and eye rolls behind the scenes, Reese Witherspoon and her team finally drew the line. Officially, Blake was never confirmed, but everyone involved knew the decision had been made. The enthusiasm around her possible casting had soured, and the project needed air. Ree, both lead star and executive producer, wasn't about to let Elle Wood's return be derailed by a behind-the-scenes power struggle. The moment Blake was out, the room changed. Writers could finally breathe again. The script, which had started to warp under the weight of character rewrites and added scenes for Blake's proposed role, was stripped back to its core. Gone were the added layers designed to justify a more morally nuanced antagonist. Gone were the clunky backstories meant to elevate the rival's screen time. The story snapped back into focus. Elle Woods was back at the center, exactly where she belonged. Ree took control quietly, but decisively. She gathered the writers, the creative team, and reinforced her original vision. Light, sharp, empowering. The charm of the Legally Blonde franchise had always been its balance of humor and heart, smart without being preachy, bold without being brash. The energy had to reflect that. With Blake out, there was room for that energy again. The heart of Elle's world didn't need a competing narrative arc. It needed celebration, not competition. But the ripple effect of Blake's involvement didn't stop at the script table. Word got around, as it always does in Hollywood, and Blake's name was beginning to carry a new kind of weight. It wasn't just Legally Blonde 3. It wasn't just It Ends With Us. It wasn't even just Barbie, where she was reportedly discussed for a potential role before being dropped from conversations early. There was a pattern emerging. Blake showing up in early development, asking for bigger parts, more creative influence, sometimes before a contract was even signed. Some called it ambition, others called it sabotage. Whatever the interpretation, the trend was hard to ignore. Producers, already risk-averse in a post-pandemic landscape, weren't looking to gamble on personality over project. And Blake, once seen as a bankable star with range, was slowly becoming a question mark. Can she collaborate? Can she support? Or does she always have to lead? Reese Witherspoon never addressed the situation directly, but fans were quick to point out a string of subtle sound bites in her interviews following the shakeup. She praised collaborators who respect the story, those who elevate the team, not just themselves, and emphasized the importance of trusting the legacy of what works. It was graceful, it was pointed, and it didn't go unnoticed. In a landscape increasingly sensitive to off-screen drama, these words carried weight. Ree wasn't just protecting a movie, she was protecting a brand. Elle Woods is iconic, and her return couldn't afford to be overshadowed by real-life diva behavior. Reese's leadership ensured that didn't happen. Legally Blonde 3 is now firmly back on track, with a script that honors the legacy, a cast that aligns with the vision, and a team that's moving in one direction forward. As for Blake, she's moved on. There's no press statement, no comment, no acknowledgement that she was ever involved. But the echo of her near involvement lingers for fans of the franchise. It's an almost story, a behind-the-scenes what if. What if she'd played the antagonist? What if she'd shared the spotlight instead of trying to reshape it? What if she'd simply let Elle Woods be Elle Woods? In the end, Legally Blonde 3 dodged a pink-squined bullet. The drama stayed off-screen, and the story remains Reese's. And as the production continues, one thing is clear. There's only one Elle. There's only one Elle.